Cheap living, beautiful beaches, your pension goes 10 times further. That's the Philippines retirement dream everyone's selling you. But here's what they're not telling you. I'm moving there this side of Christmas permanently. 2 years of obsessive research because I can't afford to get it wrong. There's hidden costs, they're real, and they add up fast. Let's talk about what nobody mentions when they're flogging you the dream. All right, first up, the visa situation, because this is where it gets expensive before you've even unpacked your bags. Everyone talks about the SRRV, the Special Resident Retirees Visa, and yes, it's brilliant if you can afford it. But here's the thing, it's not just the deposit everyone mentions. If you're over 50 with access to pension, that pays over $800 a month, then the cost of the SRRV is 15,000 US dollars. That's about £11,400 at current rates. But, and this is important, if you're between 40 and 49, it's $50,000, 50 grand, about £38,000. Now, you do get that back if you leave. It's a deposit, not a fee, but it's still money you can't touch. Money that's just sitting there. I've heard on various forums that getting this money back requires the persistence and patience of job. But that's not the hidden cost. The hidden cost is everything else. Processing fees, about $1,500. That's for the main applicant, and the other half is free. So if you're going with a partner, it is $1,500, about £1,140. And then there's the agent fees, because unless you fancy navigating Philippine bureaucracy yourself, and trust me, you don't, you're going to be hiring an agent. That's another $500 to $800 depending on who you use. Medical exam, that's required, about $100. Police clearance from the UK, £75. Apostille stamp on those documents to make your documents legal. In rip-off Britain, that's about £300 to put a stamp on them. Annual renewal, once you've actually got your visa, is $360, around £275. So before you've even set foot in the country permanently, you're looking at close to £14,000 all in, just to get through the door. That's not the affordable retirement they sell you on Facebook groups, is it? And here's what nobody tells you, that affordable retirement everyone bangs on about. It assumes you've got 11 and a half, 12 grand liquid just sat in a bank to drop on a visa deposit. If you're living pension to pension, that's not exactly pocket change. That's a massive chunk of capital you need to supply up front. The whole thing's a bit like my house sale, actually. Everyone says, oh, just sell up and move. Like it's that simple in the UK, but but you need capital first, and not everybody has it. Now, you could do visa runs, but you have to renew your visa every month or two, and your pension will be freezing on the day that you exit from the UK. So I genuinely do not recommend doing that unless you plan to go back to the UK for at least 181 days every year. Right, so you've got your visa sorted, you're in. Now let's talk about the other stuff that actually drains your bank account month to month. Healthcare. This is a big one. Everyone says healthcare is so cheap in the Philippines. And yeah, compared to US and UK private healthcare, it certainly is. But here's the reality. PhilHealth, that's the government's health insurance scheme, costs about £470 a year. Sounds brilliant, right? It covers basically about 25% of your care. So the reality is I would strongly advise you to get private health insurance. And if you're over 50, good luck getting really affordable coverage. I've been quoted £1,200 a year, depending on my coverage, from Pacific Cross. That's not catastrophic, but it's not the £470 everyone mentions, is it? And if you've got pre-existing conditions, forget it. They'll either won't cover you or they'll charge you double or more. You can live cheap in the Philippines, absolutely. That's if you're willing to live like a local. But remember, you're not a local. You're a 53-year-old British bloke who's used to certain things, and those things cost money. Air conditioning. In the UK, it's a luxury. In the Philippines, it's an absolute necessity. Running AC in a small apartment, about £80 to £100 a month in electricity, just for that. Imported goods, Marmite, Cadbury's, decent tea that doesn't taste like dishwater, you'll be paying double to triple for those. I'm not even joking. A small jar of Marmite costs about £8 in Manila. Reliable internet, because you'll want to stay connected while you're out there, or maybe you'll be wanting to remote work. Fast, mostly stable internet in the Philippines is about £40 a month, and it'll still cut out occasionally when it rains. If you're finding this useful, then please hit subscribe. I'm documenting this entire move, the good and the ugly. Currency fluctuation. This one actually worries me a lot. Your UK pension is in pounds. Your expenses are going to be in Philippine pesos, and the exchange rate, it moves a lot. Right now, £1 gets you about 77 pesos, but 5 years ago, it was 63. That's a 22% difference. That may not sound like much until you realise that 5 years ago, your pension would give you 22% less buying power on your entire income. So if the pound were to tank, and let's be honest, it's not exactly been stable recently, has it? Your affordable retirement gets a lot less affordable rather quickly, and there's nothing you can do about it other than hope and pray. You're leaving everyone you know, your mates, your family, the pub where everyone knows your name, the cafe where the dear old lady asks how you are every time you go in. And yeah, you'll make new friends in the Philippines eventually, but in the meantime, you're going to want to stay connected a lot. So there'll be video calls home. That's fine, that's free with the internet, but what about flying back to see family for unexpected things like funerals or weddings? A return flight to the UK comes in at about £700 roughly. If you book early, but if you book at the last minute, you're talking probably about £1,200. Now, I'm budgeting one trip back a year for Jane and I, so that's £1,500 right there. And if something happens, if someone gets sick, if there's an emergency, then you're going to have that money available. All right, the next one nobody talks about because it sounds a little bit soft, but it's real. And it costs money, so we need to discuss it. I'm going to call this the feeling normal budget because when you first arrive, everything is going to be different. The food, the noise, the heat and the humidity, the way people interact, and your brain will be craving familiar things just to feel grounded. So you're going to be spending extra. You'll occasionally be eating at Western restaurants because you simply just want to taste something that tastes more familiar. You'll maybe buy imported snacks. You'll pay for a nicer apartment because you need that bathtub and you just want to soak in it for an hour and pretend you're back at the UK. I'm budgeting an extra to £300 a month for the first 6 months just for this. Call it the culture shock tax. It's the cost of not losing your mind while you adjust. And now, your mental health costs. Look, I'm not a therapist, but I've spoken to a few throughout my life, and I know myself well enough that moving halfway across the world is going to affect my mind. Hopefully, in a good way. I'm pretty sure it will be a good way, but there's going to be some wobbles, and this is quite normal. But I'll just need to spend money on things that keep me sane. And those types of things are going to be extra activities, hobbies, and day trips to the beach just to clear my head. So I'm going to budget an extra £150 a month for what I'm going to call mental health maintenance. I don't have mental health problems, by the way, but moving halfway across the world is probably going to affect my mind or anybody's mind a little bit. Because if you don't budget for your sanity, you'll lose it, and then you'll spend a fortune trying to get it back. Last time I lost my marbles, it took me years to find them, and that's the thing no one tells you about moving in your 50s. You're not just moving countries, you're rebuilding your entire life, and that costs money. Right, let's talk actual numbers because this is what you came for. My realistic monthly budget for living in the Philippines. Not surviving, not living like a king, just living comfortably. Rent £600. That's for a decent two-bedroom place in a safe area with air conditioning. Utilities £150. That's electric, water, internet. Food £250, a mix of local and Western food. Eating out occasionally, though not that often. We don't really eat out massively anyway. Transport £50 for jeepneys and occasional grab. I say jeepneys, that's if I can fit in one. Health insurance £140, private coverage, average monthly. Culture shock tax £200. First year, then that'll be dropping. Mental health budget about £100. Activities for hobbies and sanity. Emergency fund, because yeah, it happens, £150. So the total is £1,640 a month. That's about $2,250. Now compare that to the UK. My costs here are about 3,200 a month minimum. So yeah, the Philippines is significantly cheaper. I'll be saving about £1,650 a month by moving, but it's not the £700 retirement that everyone sells you. That's surviving, not living. And I didn't spend all these years working just to move abroad to survive. I want to thrive. Look, I am still going. This isn't me trying to talk you out of it, or talk myself out of it for that matter. I'm going with my eyes open, not with a pair of rose-coloured spectacles. The Philippines can absolutely give you a better quality of life for less money. It's given me hope where the UK has drained all of that out of me. But it's not free. It's certainly not effortless, and it's not as cheap as some YouTube gurus who sell books and courses might well have you believe. If you're considering this move, whether it's the Philippines or anywhere else, please do the maths. The real maths, not the dream maths. Budget for those hidden costs. Budget for the culture shock. Budget for the fact that you're human and you're going to need familiar things sometimes, just to feel okay. And if the numbers still add up, then go. Because even with all these costs, it's still going to be better than staying somewhere that's draining all of your energy and slowly killing you. If you're planning a move like this, drop your biggest concern in the comments. I'll be reading them all. And if you want to follow along with me on my adventure, then please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm Spence, and I'll see you in the next one.